your cowboy pal, old Jack Spade. Leather's strong, leather's true. He's got a howdy just for you. Howdy, you two parts. Howdy, you two.
Howdy, you two parts. Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today, I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting. And I've been wanting to do this for a while and just haven't found time. So I thought I'll make time and I'll make it a video. So today, as you can see in the title, we are going to compare dye, antique gel, and protective sheen on the same piece of leather. So we're going to see how it reacts, what it looks like, and we'll see what happens. So come on in and let's get started. All right, so to get started today, I've just got a piece of leather that I picked up in a bag of scraps. Somebody has been tooling on this. They've been using some punches and stuff, and I thought this would be good to use. It's just a piece of veg tan, and I thought it'd be perfect to use because it's got a little bit of depth to it with those punches in there, with those images. So I thought I'd go ahead and use that. Now what I'm going to do, I never use this to tape off anything because it always leaves a residue on the leather, but for purposes of experimenting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to block this off with this tape, and I'll divide that up so that I get a section for my dye, a section for my sheen, and a section for my antique gel. And I've been wanting to do an old reproduction, a revolver holster for an 1873 Colt revolver. So I wanted to see exactly how this gel reacted. So we're going to find out today. So I'll put on my protective gloves. I've got a couple of, well, actually I have 3 different disposable lint-free paper towel, or what they call shop rags in a box. Then I have a lint-free towel that I can use for buffing, and that's a microfiber. Then I have, these are all fibing products. So I've got some fibing vintage gel, medium brown color, and it says on here, easy to use antique gel, used to antique vegetable tanned leathers. So that's what we've got here. So we're going to try that. I've got the Fibings Leather Sheen, and this says protects and conditions leather with a flexible, durable acrylic finish. And I use this a lot, and it's really good stuff. I use it on just bare veg tan leather to keep it natural color, and I also use it over top of dyed leather, and it works great. The last thing I have here is the Fibings leather dye in medium brown. So I wanted to do apples to apples. This is their medium brown antique gel. This is their medium brown dye. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to use today. We'll go ahead and we'll start with the dye. And we're going to start with this end on the left here. And we'll go ahead and we'll take my wool dauber. I'll use this one, this cloth, for the dye. And I like to keep everything as clean as possible. And I've mentioned this before in my other videos, but I buy these little clear plastic trays at the dollar store. And the reason I use those is it's easy to dip into, and I'm not contaminating my bottle of dye. So whatever's left in here, I'll throw it away. I won't pour it back in I don't want lint or anything contaminating that. So let's go ahead and take this piece at the end here, and let's just apply our medium brown Fibings dye. And I just want to make sure I get it completely 100% coated evenly. And I'm not worried about the sides or anything like that. I'm just doing the top part that has the stamping in it. So we can set that aside. And we can let that dry as we go on to, let's go ahead and do the Sheen next. Or no, let's do the antique so that we can do the dye and antique side by side. So let's go ahead and take our next clean cloth. Now, the thing about this dye, or this gel, this antique, it's a gel, not a dye. So it's not liquid. And I noticed when I poured it out, I don't know if you could see that, but it's fairly thick. So it is definitely a gel, and it looks really dark, but we'll find out here in just a second. I'm just going to move that around my cloth there so that I don't have just one big blob. And then let's go ahead and start applying this. I'm working that in. Again, it's not liquid, it's a gel, so I'm working that into that leather. I'm going to turn my cloth around. And just lightly wipe the excess off, which you can see there's not much excess. Alright, so there's the antique gel. There's the medium brown dye, and it's still drying. And then we'll go down to the Sheen. So again, we'll take a clean cloth, shake up my Sheen, and this one is brand new. It hasn't been opened, and I believe I have one that's been opened. Yeah. So this is the exact same thing. Fibings, leather sheen, same exact stuff. So I'll pour some of that onto my cloth. And work that in. Now this sheen looks milky, so it kind of gives you a visual of whether you're getting it covered or not. And hopefully we'll have, when we take our tape off, we'll have these natural looking stripes on here that we can compare everything to what it looked like when we started. So I'll wipe off the excess, and this stuff dries pretty quickly, at least to the point where you can buff it. And that's what I like about this. You can buff it with this microfiber cloth real lightly. I'm not pushing hard at all. And it has a nice sheen to it. You could see that shining in the light. So that gives you a nice natural look. Here's the antique look, and then here's the dye. We'll go ahead and let this sit for just a few minutes so we can let this dye finish coming back to where it's nice and dry, so we can actually get a good look at the finished color, and then I'll bring you back. All right, so we're back, and I just gave it a few minutes to dry out a little bit, come back to its natural color, or to the dye's natural color, and you can see this is a lot darker than the antique gel. So I was like, okay, what's going on with this? So I pulled out my dye samples that I made from the dyes that I have. I always like to do that so I know exactly what it's going to look like when I put it on there. And if I pull my medium brown fibings sample out, that's what it is. So it's just the difference between the antique gel and what it looks like, even though the antique gel is the same brand and the same color, medium brown. It's just the difference in how it appears on the leather. So I really like this. It's sharp. You can tell that in that stamping it leaves some depth, almost like down in the stamping it's darker, but it looks really good. Let's pull this off and see if we have any natural, we had some areas that it didn't seep through, and luckily we did. So we'll pull that tape off and let's compare and see side by side what we ended up with. So as you can see, there's the natural veg tan, and here's the dye, medium brown dye. Here's the natural veg tan, and there's the antique, medium brown. Look at those side by side. What a difference. I'm shocked. I figured they'd be closer in color. So now I know. I'm glad I did this. And then if you come on down, you can compare the natural veg tan to the antique, and there's the Sheen. That's the only thing that's on there. So the Sheen does make it a little, just a tad darker than natural. So it does darken it up just a little bit, but it gives it that protection. It gives it that nice shine. See that shine on there? That light coming off of there? So I do like the antique. Again, you could put Sheen over the top of the antique gel or over the top of the dye, either one, and all it would do is protect that and also give it that sheen or that shine to it. So you could do that if you'd want. But I do like the antique gel. So I think I'm going to proceed at some point with making that holster I've been wanting to make and do the antiquing to it. I think it'll look really good. So that gives me a really good idea of what we have and what kind of results we would get. I am going to keep this right on the back, medium brown, and this is the dye. On the back of this, medium brown, antique gel, and then on the back of this I'll just write Sheen, and I'll put Sheen only. That way I'll know for sure. If I ever go back and take a look at this, that'll give me a really good idea. I'll just leave this hanging here on my bench or near my bench, and I can go back and take a look at this, and that'll give me a good idea of what I'm looking for a project, or if a customer is not sure what they're wanting when they order something, I could show them this sample and give them a really good idea of the differences between the three. So I'm glad I did this test. All right, so I've been wanting to do this experiment for a while, and I'm glad I did. It turned out not exactly the way I thought it would, but I definitely have 3 different finishes that I can put on projects now, and I've got a good idea of what's going to make those finishes or those projects look different depending on which finish I use. So I appreciate you coming along. I appreciate you watching. If you haven't yet, go back and check out some of my older videos. I would appreciate it. And if you liked it, please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, smash that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate that. And as I always say, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.
Now like old Jack Spade will say, don't forget before you ride away. Like, share, subscribe, keep the trail alive. I'll see you in the next one, parts. Till then, keep riding hard.